I'll make a motion that we move it on to full council with a recommendation to pass change.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Is there any other business for the committee? If not,
I do not have anything else at this time.
is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Okay, I think next we've got the Public Safety Committee. And, Chief, I think the Fire Chief is going first.
You can handle the slides. All right. Yeah, I just want to give you guys a quick update on what's happening in the fire department. Go to the next slide. The first one has the our emergency response from the last quarter. Just out of last quarter's 1,340 calls. Out of those, 755 are medical calls. Wanted to point out our squad that we put in service. So we've staffed a 2-person SUV basically responding to medical calls, and it's picking up close to half of those medical calls now. So that's keeping our engines from having to respond to those calls, so saving some wear and tear on the truck. And the program seems to be working pretty well. We're running that for 12 hours a day, from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. So. Other things happening, our Station 6, we finalized the land location with the county as far as where that plot of land is. We've been working with Coast Architects. If y'all remember, they were the ones that designed Station 4 and 5. So we're working with them now. They've got a draft floor plan and a site plan completed, and we could have this project ready for bid by March of next year. So we ordered the engine back in April of this past year to go in the station. It will be ready for delivery by October of next year. So depending on timing of the station land, we got the possibility of staffing that truck ahead of time before the station is completed. We'll kind of evaluate that once more time gets closer to that period. But if we did that, we'd run that truck out of Station 3 on Trolley Road, and just so it'd be closer to the district. It's going to cover whenever we get up and running. So just until the time the station is completed. If y'all knew, one of our assistant chiefs retired or left us last month. He took a job in Georgia. We've got those positions filled now. We filled both those internally. Brent Melcher, that y'all met recently and worked the budget retreat, he filled that position. So we still have one battalion chief position open in the department that we'll be working to fill that here soon. We're doing some kind of reorganization and changing up the job responsibilities of that battalion chief position. So. Our 2021 recruit school, we are all set to get that going next year, and we'll start in February. We had our hiring process to produce over 100 applications. We've got 15 candidates selected out of that. We've measured them from uniforms and bunker gear this past week. That bunker gear now takes about 3 months to come in, so we're having to do all this stuff earlier and earlier just to get ready for the recruit class to start first week of February 2021. And other than that, personnel recognition, if y'all remember, we canceled our awards banquet back in April from the coronavirus. We are looking at the possibility of doing just a dinner with our own people, all just the fire department, just to recognize those people for their awards and years of service with the department and whatnot. So that'll be December 2nd if we do go through with that. Other than that, that's kind of the highlights of what's been happening in the last quarter. Is there any questions?
On that of the Station 6.
Yes, sir.
I'm correct that how far is that from the school?
If you go down Miles Road to the traffic circle, go through the traffic circle, it's almost right up to the Coastal Center property. So it's probably 500 feet maybe from where the traffic circle is to where our property will start. Just guessing.
Okay, so probably something that we look forward to, that we look at putting on a sidewalk
Yes, sir.
from that school
Yeah.
down to the fire station.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. That'd help clean up that area a little bit too, so that'd be a good look.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Ready, Tom?
Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you some rundown, some numbers of what's going on in town compared to last year and this year. Obviously, we had a stoppage for the COVID-19. Pretty much going to show you the decreases in our self-generated stuff. And then, of course, everything that we're dealing with because of COVID, with the increases of mental health overdoses and stuff like that. Obviously, property watches went up considerably. People were really concerned about their property being looted. But those are just some numbers that are, some of them are dropped drastically. Like traffic stops down 27%, but when we told everybody not to do proactive police work, that's what those impacts are. Of course, our traffic accidents were down this year simply because there wasn't a lot of cars on the road, but they're already creeping back up. Let's just look at some of the numbers that we're dealing with this year through November 1st compared to 19. This one, there's a lot of information on it. I just want to run through it just to let you know that what we're doing with grants in order to mitigate as much as we can. The first two grants, and I'll just quickly go through them, were highway safety traffic grants that were funded to two traffic and two DUIs. We did an officer safety supply grant. We did safety vests for a couple $1,000s. Liability reduction, we bought some body cameras. There's a couple of body cameras, ones on here, because that equipment is so expensive for them to push for. We did not receive the violent crime personnel. We requested two of them. We did just receive the sex crime and domestic violence grant. We had put in for some hazmat equipment because of everything that's going on in the world of narcotics. We don't have the equipment, but that was not funded. We still have Project Safe Neighborhoods that is pending. That is for a gang investigator. We've got another 11,000 for more body cameras to the state. This first coronavirus emergency supplemental funding is $36,000. That's what we're utilizing to clean our station house, to keep it as clean as possible. Of course, our bulletproof vest we get every year is $7,600. Did some IT grant that we just received, a little over 11,000. And then there's actually some more Corona COVID supplies grant that we just put in for. This one is so we can basically get as much cleaning supplies as we can to keep our cars and our organization. But we've also added a little bit of overtime. So if we get into a situation where we have a bunch of people that are exposed and we need to send them home, the grant will actually cover some overtime too. And then the last one is from Firehouse Subs. We've asked for a little over $40,000 because our AEDs are old and failing.
I got one little question for you. May 29th, you got a grant from the coronavirus emergency supplemental funding from BJA. What's BJA?
It's the Bureau of Justice.
Okay. All right, that's the only one I didn't understand. Thank you.
On the next one. Just some other news, what's been going on. We tried to change up our school supply drive this year, which we did. We've noticed in the past that these kids that are in need really don't need pens and paper and pencils. A lot of that out there. They really need undergarments, socks, shoes, stuff like that. So we geared up towards that and got a bunch of supplies to students in Dorchester too. We're currently in No Shave November. We thought it'd be a good idea. We allow officers to grow a beard and our females to wear braids. put up a little bit of money. This year with all the need in the community, we're giving that to the Low Country Food Bank. Our Christmas outreach has already been kicked off. As of this afternoon, we've already got 82 kids. So we've changed our training room to Santa's workshop. And the last thing I have on here is the discussion of amending 1612, which was that ordinance about park rules, which was in the packet. I can answer any questions of that. Anybody has any questions? I can tell you that we did some research. We got this ordinance. We took bits and pieces of ordinances from around the state. DW's looked at it and he's made a couple of changes to it. If you have any questions?
On the ordinances, I just had one question, and I guess this is for TW. I think overall it's a good ordinance. My only concern is with A and B, the first two paragraphs there, where the town administrators can make up rules for the parks, post them. In section B, it says we're adopting those rules and regulations by reference as it fully contained in the section. So in essence, we're allowing the administrators to write our statutes for us, and we're approving them before they're written. And that's was my concern there, that perhaps the rules ought to be presented to council at some point.
I might be wrong, but I think that's the original.
That was the only part of the original ordinance.
Okay.
And I just added all this other stuff to it.
Yeah, I've still got I've got a question on the original ordinance then, and I'm hoping I didn't draft that back in the day, but
I'm trying to make sure that you did, but,
yeah.
if we only used that one time, and there was, bullhorn being used down in front of town hall, and it was very difficult for staff to get work done, really interfering, and Colin Martin, posted rules at that time. I think that was the first time that section had been used. It just simply said no loud noise amplified.
Yeah.
And I certainly would be glad to reword it.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Notice you say no person may be arrested for violating this code section until he or she has received an oral or written warning to cease the unlawful conduct.
Correct.
So the first time you catch somebody in violation of 1612, you just don't write them a citation, you give them a warning.
Correct. You have to give them the opportunities, orally written.
Right, and then so you give them a warning and you've got a record of that. So if you see them again, then you could write a citation the second or third time. You see, no, I gave you a warning before such and such a date. So you record the warnings too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
I assume it exists that night, right? You gave a warning that night, it would be arrested that night.
Correct.
Any other questions? Okay, can I get some action on this from the members of the public safety?
We need to send it to full council for approval. I make a motion to send it to full council for approval. After the recommendations made by the council, legal council.
I'll second
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, anything else, chief?
Sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn the
So
public
moved.
safety committee. It's adjourned, thank you.
Okay, so we'll open up our committee for public works.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm going to run through a few project updates. Any questions on those as I go, feel free to ask me. And I guess a few more items at the end of the agenda to consider as well. 2020 fall resurfacing, that should start, hoping it would start this week, but with the rain coming, that's not going to start this week. We'll get updated schedule probably next week on when those few roads will be done, but the goal is to get that project done before Christmas next month. One other item that wasn't on the agenda, I do want to just give you a quick update on the Bear Island Road project. We did receive our last final invoice today from the construction company. And in that project, we had a savings of $564,942.76. So I expect about a $400,000 savings, but we exceeded that, which is good news for that account.
Yeah.
On the Maple Street project, still in the same pattern, still waiting on DOT to give us final approval, and we have about 6 or 7 more properties we're still trying to acquire. Hoping we won't need to condemn any more of them, but there's a possibility we'll need to condemn 1 or 2 of those. Cedar Street Extension, I think I shared an exhibit with y'all last month. We gave Baker Construction to go ahead and develop right-of-way plans. We expect to have 60% right-of-way plans due to us in January of next year, so that's coming soon. Central Avenue sidewalk, we are developing phase 1 of that. We hope to have that ready to go to bid early 2021 as well. 5th Street sidewalk, we just signed a contract to develop final plans for that one. Hope to have those first of the year, as well as the Lee Street sidewalk. Lee Street and 5th Street are about on the same track for building, for construction. North Hickory Street sidewalk, that's our CDBG grant project this year. We're still waiting on Railroad to get back with us and give us their permit to cross the railroad, but that'll be ready to go once we acquire that permit. Shepherd Park drainage, we are still awaiting the RIA grant from the application we submitted back in September. I was hoping to get that this month or in October, but did not. I do plan to follow up with the RIA office this week and see what the status of that is. I don't know if I reported this or not, but we applied for $1.4 million as a 25% match. Typically, they only award $500,000 out of this grant, so we'll be on the hook for some of this, more than we thought originally. The US 78 North Somerville drainage flood study. Basically, that project is reports being written now. We completed modeling basically last week, and the bad news is there's really no good solution for this project. We looked at upgrading our conveyance through the system downstream. We looked at detention upstream, and really not a good solution for this. So I think what the recommendation will be is to acquire the property being flooded in this area and just raise it and let it flood, let it be a floodplain that it is. But I'll share the report with y'all when I do receive it later this month. Any questions on that one?
No, but you skipped over Lee Street sidewalk.
Yeah, we're developing final plans for that one now, so hopefully we'll have it for those ready to us first of the year to put out the bid. Lee Street sidewalk and 5th South Street sidewalk are out on the same track.
And Russ, on North Hickory Street, is there a reason that we wait till we get something from the railroad before we go ahead and start?
We want to make sure that what we submitted them is what they're going to approve, so we don't want to bid it out and then have to change something in the middle of construction. Usually CDBG, the feds will want us to have it fully permitted before we bid it as well, which is one of our permits we need to get. Springview Lane, Oak Brook drainage flood study. We did get a final report. So we did authorize the surveyor to go do the survey for the final design. He did the field work, completed the field work last week, so now he's in the office completing the survey, and we'll begin final design on that as soon as we get the survey back. So that is coming along. That's all the project updates I've got, unless if you have any questions or anything. Next item is acquisition of a piece of property on Loudon Drive. It's PMS number 144-1206001. So I have it shown here. It's kind of a triangular piece. It's a residual piece of property from the Boykin Creek subdivision, just north of that location. As you can see on the left side, adjacent to Loudon Drive, there's a strip of property that DOT acquired from the Berlin-Myers. The owners of this property indicated they just would like to just give it to the town. It's mostly wetlands. It's not much value at all to them. They're paying taxes on it, so they wanted to know if the town would be interested in acquiring it. And if we did acquire it, I recommend we just use it for conservation purposes. That's all it's really there for.
How big is that property?
It is 3.29 acres and is mostly wetlands.
Russ, is this adjacent to a parcel that we talked about earlier that may or may not be coming to the town under conservation easement?
I don't know if it's adjacent or it's very close in proximity. It's not adjacent to it, but it's along the canal, between the canal and the golf course.
And is there any update on that larger parcel?
I have not heard. No, I don't think we will acquire that until permitting for the parkway is completed.
I would have presumed that, but yes, just in case.
Right. Any more discussion on the Loudon Drive? We need to bring this to full council for a decision, or?
Yeah, I've moved that we bring to full council.
Okay, there's a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay.
Next item is a request for a quick claim deed to be received from the property owner, Lot 4, on Legree Lane. Legree Lane is this portion of Legree Lane is unimproved gravel road. Brad Mallet has this lot and would like to build a house on it. And the way it's shaped now and the setbacks due to its shape really have it restricted as to where he can put his house, and where the area he could put his house would impact the several grand live oak trees. So he's requesting that town quit claim him the shaded portion, the half moon portion, if you will, of that cul-de-sac, and that would reduce his setbacks and give him more flexibility and hopefully save some significant trees on the lot when he builds his house. The staff has no issue with it and recommends approving the request.
Okay. Is there any discussion about this?
You need a council vote to do it?
It needs to go to council. Well, we could probably send it to council for first reading by right only on Thursday, and I can have an ordinance and deed written before the December.
I would move then that we forward this to full council with a recommendation of approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to send this to full council. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Next item is an item, I think Ms. Kimma requests to be on the agenda to talk about some changes and additions to the parking garage.
Yeah, I just, over the last several years, I've just noticed that the parking garage, the entrances where the cars go in, we have a sidewalk. This is off of Short Central. We have a sidewalk that leads up to the garage, but you have to step off of the sidewalk to enter the garage. And personally, I was almost run over by a car that seemed to be going 50 miles an hour coming out the other day. But I've seen other people almost get hit by cars too. And it seems to me that there should be a way that sidewalk, we could have some type of small entrance through that brick or around the brush there to enter into the parking garage from that area, so at least they can see the oncoming traffic and the outgoing. And then on the opposite side, we have the stairway that goes all the way up into the garage. And I'd like to see, again, on that side of the entrance exit, there is no sidewalk. And so people have to walk in the road when they're exiting the garage. But we've got this stairway, and I was thinking there's a big area there that's a landing, and then you can see where the cement stops, but it comes out into this parking area where it actually has no parking sign there. That's over by the Four Greens, I guess, area. And why can't, possibility of putting small steps going up that way so people could enter and exit from that direction. And then on the opposite side, some type of entrance in that brick there, or there's a little, I guess, is that a window on?
Yeah, I looked at this today to address
Yeah.
your idea on the Four Greenfield side.
Mm-hmm.
Our property line is basically very, very close to the building, parking garage. So we really couldn't go off the parking garage. We would be trespassing. So I don't know if that would work because we don't own the property. Exit to it's private property. And that kind of shows on the top picture and those photographs. Is that the landing you're talking about where the stairwell comes down?
Yes.
Yeah, our property line is basically right up against within a couple feet of the building. So I don't know if we could approach into that parking lot.
So who's the owner?
Seymour Lynch. On the access on the main entrance, I did look at this today as well. The bottom left picture shows that window, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That metal could be removed,
Mm-hmm.
and we could pour a sidewalk from, look at the bottom right picture, pour a sidewalk adjacent to the existing sidewalk into that area and make that an entrance that isn't in the travel lane.
Mm-hmm.
I think our street department could probably handle that project. If that's what you want to proceed with that.
What we have there, Russ, is not, I won't say atypical. I'm not saying we shouldn't change it. I'm just saying it's not atypical to what you see people downtown Charleston and where sidewalks run to all of the garages there. I mean,
Right, you're right. Right.
That's also where that window is. You do that on the vehicle ramp.
It is on the ramp going down to the level 1, but right there is, I think, flat enough. It would meet ADA. I looked at the grade today. It would meet ADA standards.
I just noticed that it just seems to be a safety hazard. I mean, I see people with their strollers, with their young children, and they have to exit off the sidewalk and into the lane to go in and out. But, constantly it's, you have to look around that brick to see if anybody's coming. Any other thoughts from our committee?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that at least that part of it, we should take a close look at changing that. It doesn't seem like there'd be that much of an effort to do it.
Is this something that we can do in-house, like you said? Do we need to send this up to Finance Committee?
We could do this for, no ma'am, I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Any other
Mr.
Comments?
Chairman, if I could, while we're at the parking garage, some time ago, Russ, we had a discussion, and I'm not gonna say we, saying a bigger we, and I can't remember who it was, about moving the sweet tea cup from where it is to, as you're going out of the garage, to the grass over there, to have it be more visible, and also to make the area where it is now something where we're not housing homeless. I don't know who I had the discussion with, or who we had the discussion with. Is that something that we can take a look at actually? It's actually photos a lot more times than I think any of us think.
Photos several times a day, every day.
I mean, and it's out there that I think the traffic could possibly help for reference and other businesses there
We could look at it, yeah.
on what's involved through that force line.
Yeah, we would. So we want to proceed on the parking garage access?
I would like to see that.
I'm good with it. I'll make a motion to proceed with it.
Okay, we have a first and second, all in agreement? Aye? Any nays?
Last item, I think the mayor requested this be included, is the discussion of the one-way Waring Street. I have an exhibit of Waring Street from between Simmons and Classic, which is the section we were talking about. Simmons and Classic Street, where it ends. I think this came up a few years ago, but it was decided to not do it for whatever reason. I don't remember why. But the road is very narrow. It's 12 to 14 feet wide. There's really only room for one vehicle to pass safely. The roadside ditch on one or both sides, depending on what section of the road you're on. So I think a one-way would probably reduce the traffic and make the whole situation a little bit safer. I think the question was what sections we would one-way, all of it or a portion of it, and that's kind of where we left it. Any thoughts?
How do people get out of there? I drove that today, because I assume we were talking on the Simmons. Okay, so you pull in off of Simmons, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you now get out of all of those houses out there? Where do you go to get out? I didn't drive through all of the streets.
Well, it connects down to Classic Street, which Classic Street is a bit wider, and you can pass. Or you can go through Tallow Street to get out to Shepherd. So there are ways to get out. I think the discussion was to make it one way into Classic. Is that what we talked about, Mayor?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So one way, I guess, going southwest from Simmons towards Classic will be the direction of the travel. So it would inconvenience the people up closer to Simmons, because it would require them to go all the way out to Classic and back up to Germantown to get out. But
Okay. Russ, have we ever talked to the property owners on that street, just to like say which would be easier? Because I think it's something they all recognize as an issue. It's just, there's patterns, behavioral patterns of people's traffic
yeah, I
patterns.
think we polled, maybe that's why I got killed before. We did poll the residents out there, and no one, the change, so no one went for it. So,
Well,
but I think it's a good idea.
as it's been more developed, as more houses have come up on it, maybe they might change their mind. I don't know.
We're about to approve 25 or 30 lots across the street from Tallow Street.
Mm-hmm.
That street, Waring Street, is extremely narrow anyway, isn't it?
It's 12 to 14 feet wide, yes, sir.
So I thought about it before. It's one of the reasons you might want to make it one way, because it's so narrow.
Right, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, someone has to pull over for you to be able to get to pass down it.
There are some places on Waring Street where you can't even pull over. There's a ditch on one side and no ditch on the other side, and there's not enough room for a car, so somebody has to back up or do something, because if you pull over too far, there's not enough room unless you go in the ditch, further down Waring towards Classic. There's not enough room for two cars to get by, even if somebody pulls over, because they can't pull over but so far. And like Russ was saying, we might could take it down as far as Tallow Street and make it one way that far. But we're getting ready to build a new subdivision on Waring Street between Waring and Germantown Road. How many houses are going in there, Russ?
20 to 30.
Yeah, about 30 houses, where John Rett's field was, that's gonna bring two exits out on Waring Street. And the other subdivision down at the end of Waring Street and Classic Street, which they'll be able to exit out on Shepherd Street and Waring Street and Classic Street. So they don't have to use Waring, they can just go out on Classic Street and go straight to Germantown Road. But anyway, we could put a lot more cars on Waring Street any way you look at it. And trying to go both ways on the street, that street's gonna almost be impossible. With adding that much more traffic to it. And that's why I asked Russ to put it on the agenda, just to take a look at it. Because we're gonna be faced with some problems on that street when we add that many more houses, especially right in the middle of Waring Streets where that subdivision's going, that with the 30 homes. Now, they can exit out on Germantown Road too. But, and that's also another cut through for people to go from Waring Street to, over to Germantown Road. But, you know, people don't want people cutting through the subdivision. But, just a suggestion to try to get ahead of the game, because they haven't started those homes yet. But it won't be long, they'll start them and they'll be completed, and that much more cars will be coming on that street.
Not enough right away, right?
Is that,
There's not enough right away there to.
there really isn't, no. The way we're making them design the subdivision is gonna have minimal impact to Waring as we can. So, and it will, like the mayor said, it will provide a cut through for people to get out through that out to Germantown before they have to go out to Simmons Avenue. But you're right, but the width of the road between Tallow and Simmons is a bit wider. So two cars can pass a little easier, but between Tallow and Classic, it's very, very narrow. It's almost impossible to let you go in the ditch to pass.
Could you pipe the ditches and get a little wider right away?
It would be, yes, sir, it would, but signs are cheaper than pipe.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find something to satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a motion to send this up to full council to vote on?
I think that, do we have Russ, do you have a recommendation for which way to, or do you want us to think about it and bring them back a recommendation?
Let's think about it. I mean, I think between Tallow and Classic, towards Classic would be probably a good compromise. It wouldn't one way the entire street. That would probably be the recommendation.
I think before it goes to council, we ought to try to get a buy-in from the people now that are there, you know, taking into consideration that they may not know about the new subdivision, and kind of educate them on that.
Do you want to do a poll?
Yeah, I think we should. We did previously, and
Right, we did previously and it failed miserably.
yeah, well,
We can do it again though.
Alrighty, does anybody else have any questions about anything on the agenda for our committee? All right, well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move, we now adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Yeah.
That's the last committee, right? Doing that committee? All right, Andrew, we'll have the finance committee. Please, sir.
evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'll present the October 31st, 2020 financial report. We're approximately 83% through the year 2020. Revenues collected during this period, approximately 1.8 million. Expenditures for the same period, approximately 2.9 million. Expenditures over revenues for the period are around 1 million. Property tax revenues collected in a period around 181,000. Licenses, permits, and fees, approximately 1.6 million collected. We have the 1.5 in business licenses reconciled and brought in during the month, which puts us over that budgeted line item. Court fines, I don't have the October numbers right now. That's approximately 50% budget for the period, 126,184 through September, the last period I have. State revenues collected during the period, approximately 9,000. Miscellaneous revenues, approximately 37,000 collected. Majority of those are property rental fees and cell tower rentals. And there were no other financing sources for the period. Impact fee balances, parks and rec facilities, balances of 1031, approximately 318,000. Fire facilities, approximate balance of 704,000. Municipal facilities, balance approximately 418,000 for a total impact fee balance of 1.441. Impact fees residential collected during the period, approximately 12,000. Expenditures are approximately 14,000 for the period. This had to do with the Parks and Rec impact fees on the preserve project. Those funds have already been encumbered, so they count towards our 2-year spend out. Impact fees commercial, approximately 48,368 collected for the period, and no correlating expenditures for the same period. Hospitality tax fund, approximately 301,866 collected for the period. We have seen an increase in those collections, approximately 3 million for the period, approximately 72% of the budget collected for the period. Those numbers are looking a lot better than previously thought. Expenditures for the same period, approximately 69,000. Stormwater management fees, approximately 11,750 collected for the period, with 101,000 in expenditures for the same period. There's no questions. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, Jim. Mr. Reeves has got a report for us from Sculpture in the South.
Mr. Mayor, members of the town council, as we hopefully look towards the end of this pandemic that has darkened our lives, the board of directors of Sculpture in the South wants to install a bit of whimsy in our lives, something to lighten our days and brighten the path to our new normal. I present to you On a Roll, Jack Hill. Jack is a well-known sculptor who has joined us in the past for our annual show and sale. This art is one of his signature styles and is just a fun, whimsical piece of art. Plans are to install and dedicate it sometime in the spring of 2021 on or near the pedestrian way of Short Center. To that end, a survey of the business owners and managers along the street was conducted in October and early November. Received a positive response from it. I've included in your packet an outline survey and the responses that came back. In the words of one of our board members, On a Roll is moving with the rest of us down the shopping streets of summer. In closing, I'd like to invite each of you to join us next Friday. Well, I said next Friday or Saturday. On the way down here, I got the word that because of the weather in Florida and the artist concerns and what have you, it's been postponed a week. So it'll be the Friday the 20th, Saturday the 21st. It's going to be a little mini show and a meet the artist, see some of his other works, drop in over at the museum. And that's just it. Short as possible, unless I have questions. I thank you very much for your time.
Next is authorization to enter into a contract with ESP Associates Incorporated for creation of construction documents to be used for RFP for Oak Brook Ashley Road Preserve boat landing area.
Do we know the amount on this?
Yes, sir. Y'all won't be able to hear me if I stand way back there. Good evening. Yes, sir. I just got the proposal from ESP Associates to create the preliminary schematic plans. The desired, these plans are going to show the desired design intent for the renovation of the boat landing and the parking lot. We'll be able to use the plans to as advertisement for the design build of the boat landing. The estimated total is for this is $34,700, but it is worth noting that two of the items or a couple of the items are billed hourly, so there could be a little bit of variation in there. But the proposal is for $34,700.
And I do want to note we could pay for this, Andrew, out of the municipal impact fees, which is what we've paid for the other design. Is that right? Parks and Recreation impact fees.
Could you tell them we had two choices? Can you explain to council why we chose this?
Yes, sir. So my understanding is with the preliminary schematic plans, we'll put the project out to bid. Whoever is awarded that bid will then do the construction documents themselves. That gives us a little bit more control over the price. If ESP was to, that's called a design bid. If we did the it's design bid build process, then ESP would actually build make the construction document. We would then bid it out, and the contractor would have to build it to those specs, which gives us more control over the design. But this way allows us to have a little bit more control over the price.
And in that price, what is the price?
Well, not for they're just for the schematic plans.
Yeah.
It is $34,700.
So what do we have the other day? That was the end of the conceptual plans. Now we're actually making documents to bid the job, to do the boat landing area. The part that we're not going to do in-house. Right, correct. And
basically that first phase, those things that we discussed. So where we're making the improvements to the boat landing, that parking area, lighting, the site furnishings down there, landscaping, everything that's kind of in that existing area.
in part of this agreement, because it does help us to control our costs better, built into this team when we hire a contractor is built into this contract. He will talk to them when they do the construction plans to make sure that our ideas get to the contractor and done like that.
Well, these aren't actually construction documents then.
No.
No,
It's
sir.
more a sketch before the.
Yeah, I apologize. I used the wrong terminology. Amy had to call and educate me on on the right terminology.
Yes, so that should just be, instead of for creation of construction document, it should say for creation of preliminary schematic plans.
I may be missing something, but we've got a pretty accurate depiction of what's going to be going there finally, and we all like it, and it's assuming you have to get construction documents later on that in more detail. we're looking at three separate stages of drawings for the same thing, basically. The ones we've already got, the one ESP would do again, refining basically what they've already done. And then the request for proposals, the proposals may have something that varies from what these documents are, so they don't have to be dead on, because we don't know what the final product still is going to be till we accept the proposal. It looks to me like we're adding an interim cost in the middle of it without any real necessity to do it. It's not that complicated of a project.
It's
As I
not,
see.
but without these documents, we don't really have anything to go out to bid with, other than just a picture.
Yes, sir. Right now, we just have kind of pretty pictures. The schematics would at least give some dimensions and areas so that you would know, you need however many cubic feet of pavement, you need how much wood, you need those sort of things. Whereas right now, we don't have any of that. It's just a really cute picture.
Yeah, it's more of a roadmap for the contractor.
Tell me again why we wouldn't be getting requests for quotes instead of proposals then, because if we're going to make the determination exactly what it's going to look like, why do we need request for proposals for, as I understand it would be for the potential person would go in here and say, this is how I want to do it, or this is how we should do it. This is how it ought to look.
We're going to take those plans and put it out to bid, and they will take those plans and build the construction documents based off of the information we provide them.
This is also called a 35% plan. And they're kind of saying they're going to do the initial, get it all what it is, and then the contractor can do the plans exactly how he's going to do it, or they're going to do it. Yeah. And this is less expensive than hiring a contractor. It's supposed to keep up, we have control of the money more, and with Keene, they were talking to him. I think he's heard us enough to make sure that our interests are followed through on it.
Okay. So, Amy, ask you a couple of questions here. How much are we going to pay ESP?
Well, if we go and sign this proposal, it's $34,700 is the anticipated amount. There could be a little variation, but it would be close to that amount.
And so when we get, they'll do the construction documents, and we will put that out for an RFP, right? And then we will start getting the cost as to what it's going to cost to do the project, what we're not going to do in-house.
Once we have these plans, we will put it out to bid, and then whoever's awarded that bid will create the construction plans. But we will have cost when the bids come back.
I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to save us money.
So there's two different delivery methods whenever you're dealing with construction projects. There's design build and there's design bid build.
Correct.
The design build, and the mayor actually may be able to speak a little bit to this. The design build allows you to work with the contractor you choose to deliver the project for a certain price. The design bid build is we pay for the actual design and the construction documents and everything, and then we just get a bid on it. If you do design build, they say they're going to be able to deliver a project for X amount of price, and they work with you to be able to do that. So it's just two different delivery methods for construction projects. It's just whichever one you're more comfortable with. The design build, though, is the way that most people are going now, because it allows you to work with the contractor to keep your prices down, because he's agreed, or the contractor's agreed to a price kind of beforehand, and you work your way through to that. And they help design it, and they help design it in a way that hopefully can save us money.
Have we utilized this process before?
Andrew, have we utilized design build before? We've done it with roads, correct, Russ? No? Andrew, have we? Two fire stations. That's how, so Post, and which fire stations? Trolley and
Luton and Charlie.
Luden and Charlie.
Is this, I'm more thinking about where we're doing the work and the plan that we have in front of us that to me is pretty vivid of how we want it to look. I know we may have to move out a little bit. I know we got mitigation that we may have to do. Is this not something we can do in-house? And I look at it and say it's paving a parking lot and it's putting in some grass over here and a little fence of only this part of it now. I know when we leave that, it gets a little bit more complicated, but I'm not an engineer and I'm not a drafter and I'm by any of that, so.
Russ, can you put
Yes.
anything in on that? You've probably done more similar things like this.
Yeah, we certainly don't in-house in Parks and Recreation.
So if we're looking at what was considered to be the Indigo section, are we still looking at dock repair and kayak launch and the parking improvements and those sort of things? Or is it, yeah, so
Yes.
When it comes to like dock repair or kayak launch and those sort of things, that's not something our staff, I mean, if we're just paving a parking lot, I'm sure we can figure it out. But expanding the parking lot, we're going to have to talk to OCRM for the wetlands, and then for the dock and the kayak and those sort of things. That's something we're going to have someone else to do.
So Amy, if what portion of this, and maybe I'm looking at Russ too, what portion of what we're going to be doing might we be able to do in-house?
So we are going to start working on the nature trails, clearing those.
Is that part of this?
No, sir.
What part of this can we do in-house? I mean, I know we're doing paving.
Other than installing basically some of the site furnishings, really none of it. Like we'll be coordinating with Dominion for lighting, installing new lighting. But as far as expanding that parking lot, we would not be able to do the majority of this in-house.
So the real stuff that we can do is more within the park, I'm gonna call it, versus in the parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think that
What we're doing here is we're talking to these people, what I read. They're gonna create, construction documents. Now, once we get those construction documents, we'll have them in our hands, and then we can look at the construction documents and we can tell what we can do in-house. That's all. It's like a set of house plans. I mean, you know, until somebody gives me a set of house plans, I can't tell them what it costs or what part of it I can do or my crew can do. They tell me what I got to sub out. So what we're paying these people for is to create those construction documents. We give them what we want to do, and then they come back with the construction documents and they say, okay, here's your construction documents. And according to what I'm reading here, they bid those out for us. Is that right, Amy? And they come back and tell us what it's going to cost? I mean, what they're charging us to $34,000 is to create these construction documents for us, right?
Well, it's not construction documents. It's schematic plans that then, once it's awarded, the contractor will then create the signed construction documents.
But when the contractor comes in, though, he's charging us to do what he does, which is separate from that $34,000.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, and so this guy, Terry, Walter, with your questions, what he does is we got pictures showing what we're doing here. You can't build anything by a picture much. You got to bring this guy in, and he does what he does with plans and specifications to what we want. And then you give those out for bid. with those plans and specifications, you give them out to contractors to bid on the work that's gonna be done, and then we get that price, and that's what it costs us to do the work. Now, if any part of that work we can do ourselves, if Russ can put some of that together with his people or Amy's people to do part of that work ourselves, that's fine. But, if not, then we gotta pay for it all. If it's worth it to us to get this ESP and Associates to do that, if y'all want to do that. If not, you give somebody a picture and let them bid on that, and I don't know how the devil they do it, but, I sure couldn't. I can't build anything by a picture, other than, I don't know. Can't build anything. You have to get Richard to do that. He built a pretty fireplace in his yard by a picture. But,
At the meeting that we had last week, I think it was decided that we would, where all of this came from is that the indigo section, which is the section I'm talking about, you guys decided that this was the one that staff couldn't do. So we would need to bid out and get this to the point where we could bid out the whole, we would need to get documents to where we could bid out the whole project. And then the other projects, all the other sections were the ones that staff was going to look into, was going to go ahead and start clearing those areas and maybe even paving them if it's something that we could figure out that they weren't in the wetlands and that we could pave them and that sort of thing. So this was the section that we just don't have the in-house skills to do, that we're going to need to bid out. But the other portions of it, staff does feel pretty confident they can clear the trails, the nature trails, and see what we're working with.
So I want to make sure I understand. We would enter into this contract, ESP Associates would for somewhere around $35,000, would create a schematic plan. Then we would bid out the preparation of construction documents? Or we bid out the entire job?
You bid out the entire job. If the contractor's bidding, they're going to figure out the best way to do it and then do it for you.
So if I understand, Bill, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that the $35,000 we just spent up front will allow us to have a plan that would be put out for bids. It would be streamlined so that they could bid exactly what we want. Right now, we don't know what exactly the program is going to require. And by doing that, that will help us to save money by working with the contractor.
Yeah, I kind of see it as, with these plans, later we get to work with the contractor and do it by methods and ways that contractor works with best to save money. If we do the plans completely with construction plans, they have to do exactly what we want. And then you don't have that wiggle room to say, well, let's do it this way or that way. You have to stand by those signed plans.
I think our hope is maybe we get someone who's done these types of projects before that can help us, come up with better ways to do things and ways that work, because, this is beautiful land, but it's going to have wetlands, it's going to have wet areas and low areas and different things that we're going to have to work around. So someone's going to have to be creative with them.
So help me, I'm a little slow on the uptake. If we actually did have the detailed construction documents, that would go to competitive bidding. We would know exactly what we wanted built, and it's just whoever could do it the cheapest. We're not going that route if we do this. We get these schematic plans and we offer for requests for proposals, and we let contractors come to us with how they would propose to build it, and we pick the one we like.
Yes, sir. Okay. And then you guys would, obviously you have approval of what they do and what it looks like, and if there's any major changes or anything, but yes, sir.
And that's why Keene's agreed to work with the contractor to make sure this all comes together the way we have worked from the beginning. I'll make a motion that we authorize entering into a contract with ESP Associates for the creation of these construction documents. I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded that we enter into a contract with ESP and Associates. Any further discussion? in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed likewise. Ayes, carry.
Authorization to issue a purchase order to Lee Transport Equipment in the amount of $57,970 for a low boy trailer. Funds to come from stormwater fund balance, and this is on a state contract.
I'll make a motion that we approve that. I'll second that, and I just have a question, what department is this going to? Stormwater.
Yeah. Motion made and seconded, we spend $57,970 for a lowboy trailer for stormwater. Any discussion? If not, all, everybody in favor signify by raising the right hand. Opposed likewise, ayes, carry.
Authorization to issue a purchase order to Blanchard Caterpillar in the amount of $311,644.38 for a Caterpillar 326 long reach excavator. Funds to come from stormwater fund balance, item purchased through RFP.
I'll make a motion that we issue this purchase order to Blanchard Caterpillar.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, we spend $311,644.38 to Blanchard Caterpillar. Any discussion? Not all in favor, signify by raising the right hand. Opposed likewise. Ayes, carry.
Authorization to approve a purchase order in the amount of $27,745 to Santee Automotive for a 2021 Dodge Durango. This is a state contract purchase, and this is a grant vehicle and being paid from the Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Grant Funding.
I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, we buy a Dodge Durango, Santee Automotive, for $27,745. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Not all in favor, signify by raising the right hand. Opposed likewise. Motion carried. Discussion of the 2021 fiscal year budget.
Mayor and council, we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask any other questions or if you have any other things that you would like to be included in the budget, to let us know. We do have the public hearing for the budget Thursday night and first reading of the budget. The only things that have been added are the things that council expressed at the last council meeting. There was money put back into the hospitality tax fund to hand out to different agencies. We did cut it from the 125 to 100, I believe that's right. So that is still in there. And then the budget was adjusted to allow for a full-time judge. We were going to add in the funding for the renovations to be done to the Century 21 building for the court to move over there, but we will be able to purchase those out of the municipal impact fees, be able to do that construction out of that. So that will save some general fund money. And that's money that we have to spend in a certain number of years or we have to pay it back. So other than that, Andrew, am I missing any other large changes or anything? Okay.
Any questions on the budget for Ms. Rebecca?
Or Andrew?
Oh, Andrew.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.